So good morning everyone. How's your day been? So this is the second lesson in music theory, and the first lesson we talked about what is music, how we define it. And if you haven't seen that lesson, I would recommend that you do because it has quite a few. It gives you a good understanding for what we're doing and why we're doing it, and basically what music is. It's a really important thing to understand. That being said, today we're going to move on to an extremely important concept, and that is the elements of music. The elements of music. Well, there are four, aren't they that much? There are four elements of music, and these are the elements through which all music is comprised. You give me any piece of music, and I can break it down in terms of these exact four elements. And so, understanding the way these four elements work and they interact is essential to not only understand how we write music, but understanding music as a concept in general. The four main elements in which we structure all of music. All music is made of, you can think of it like that. So without any further ado, let's get into the nitty gritty of what elements I'm talking about here. So the first element of music is pitch. Now I'm sure many of you have heard this word of, but in layman's terms, pitch is basically just uh, how high or low a sound is, how high or how low a sound is. So to give you some kind of intuitive understanding, that would be the difference between, let's say, this and that, or could be the difference between this and this. One was higher, one was lower. So this is a difference in pitch. So that's one element of music. And of course, every key on the piano corresponds to one pitch, but we'll get into all of that later. And let me just write this in another color. The next element of music, and this is another really important one, is duration. It is duration. And duration is a measure of how long or short you're playing a sound. How long or short a sound is. And just again to give you an intuitive understanding, that would be the difference between this and this. So one was longer. I played one for longer. Wow, my longer looks like my E looks like a O. I played one for longer and I played one shorter. So one was long and one was short. So that's a difference in duration. And then the third one we're going to be talking about here is, now let me just choose another color again, tone. And it's not that it's kind of hard to properly assign a definition for tone, but in layman's terms, but basically you can just say what the sound is made of, or like how the sound sounds. That's really a weird way of putting it, but how the sound sounds, or what it's made of at like a waveform level. So it's much better that you just get intuitive understanding for this. So I suppose this section should actually really be called timbre, but it doesn't really matter, tone or timbre. This depends on your definition. The point is, the difference in tone is essentially the quality that makes up the music. So to give you an example, so I can play the same pitch, the same duration, let's say on the piano. Then so all of those were the same duration. All of those were the same duration. They're the same pitch, but what are the difference? It's difference in tone. So imagine a trumpet playing a C versus a flute playing a C. Will it sound exactly the same? No, it will not. It's the same pitch. Imagine they're playing it for the same length, same duration, and it's the same duration as well. But it's not going to sound the exact same as just demonstrated. And that scientifically, but just due to the difference in overtones and the vibration that occur, but all you need to know is that is the tone, or that's the timbre. So as I said, you can have different instruments have different tones. The trumpet has a different tone from a French horn, which has a different tone from a piano. or you can have different tones in the same instrument. Now I've got a digital piano here, so it's going to be very difficult to demonstrate. However, you can play something on trumpet nice and sweetly and harshly as well. At the same, you can do both. So within the same instrument, you can also have slightly different tones. Is my point. And finally, let me grab another color here again, and let's talk about the final one, which is, so you've got pitch, duration, tone. We finally have volume, or you hear some people calling it dynamics. It's another word for volume, basically. And this is very simply how loud or soft a sound is. How loud or soft a sound is. Once again, to give you an intuitive understanding, I have maybe this and this. Again, I did demonstrate that I have a difference in tone, but it's also the difference in volume. I can play something softly, and I can play something loudly. So as you can see, the difference in volume. And with that, we are done. These are, in essence, the four elements of music: pitch, duration, tone, and volume. These are the four, and all music, and I mean any possible music, can be broken down in terms of these. Some people say melody and harmony. Melody and harmony are part of pitch. So each music has pitch, duration, volume, and tone, and I can break it down like that. So, and so basically these are the four basic elements of music. And just to give you like a sneak peek for what's gonna come in the future, I will tell you how we write down each of these. So the way we write down music is basically just trying to convey each of these four elements. Like in English we have words, in music you can have phrases or parts, right? So we're trying to convey each and every one of these elements. So if you talk about pitch, and this is just a sneak peek, so you don't have to worry about if you're not fully understanding it. We'll go into all of this in depth later on. So we write music on 5 lines, and I'm wishing I brought an image now. We write music on 5 lines, and these lines are called the staff. We'll learn all of this very soon. But yes, we write music on 5 lines, and where I place a note on the staff essentially can tell me how high or low the note is. So in this example, this note is higher than the other note because it is placed higher on the staff. It's higher up on these 5 lines. So we write pitch, and if you look at sheet music, it's like that. So the notes which are higher have a higher pitch. Now for duration, we use different types of notes. So we have a note which looks like this, we have a note that looks like that, we have a note that looks like this, we have a note that looks like that, etc, etc. So these different types of notes tell us how long to play that particular pitch for. So if, okay, then we have tone, which is usually dictated by the instrument that you are playing, that it's written for. But sometimes composers will write like some text up here which tells you sometimes to play it like softly, like play it tenderly, or passionately, which is all very different in tone usually. But usually it's just dictated by the instrument that you're using. And then finally, in terms of volume, and this is loudness and softness, not like spatial volume, just not to get confused. We write small pieces of text, like small letters, under the staff, which would be somewhere here, and that's telling me just how loud or soft to play is. And don't worry, we'll get into all of this in detail later. It's okay if you don't understand a word I'm saying, but this is a sneak peek, and you can get a sense for how the way we write down music, this musical language, is completely dependent on these four elements. We are basically using musical language, using written music. We're trying to figure out how do we convey each and every one of these elements. So Yeah, and that's about it for this lesson. So I hope again you understood quite a lot, and this was about the elements of music, as you can see here. And moving forward, I am going to try to take pitch in gen. So we're going to go really in depth into pitch and try to figure out what's going on there, what are the different types of pitches, what different pitches are there, how do we write it down, clefs, and all that good stuff is coming up very, very soon. So we're going to go very in depth into pitch, and then we'll do the same for duration, tone, and volume as we go on. Anyways, this was just a brief overview of the elements of music. I hope you found it helpful, and I'll see you next class.